Hi, I'm Dean Madsen with Architect Magazine. I'm here with Brian Klipp of Klipp, who helped design the Denver Public Library. We're here in the Great Hall of the Central Library, where guests will enter and come through and see this vast expanse of space. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about a visitor's first experience, like walking into this space, and what they might experience here.
Sure. There's a little history behind this, and that is when the competition came about, there was this real anxiety on our part that this enormous building of 540,000 square feet would overwhelm people, and people just wouldn't come anymore. So the whole notion about creating the Great Hall, the Schlesman Hall, was a very big piece of creating a place of comfort and a place of understandability. So the whole notion was about an organizational plan that was intuitive, that was structured in a way that actually was understandable, both from outside and inside, and also one that had connectivity. You begin to experience the whole library within one space, because of the multiple mezzanines and the connectivity to the rotunda, which has an openness to it. So it has a certain scale and certain understandability about it and certain comfort. I think that the other thing about this space that gives comfort is we really wanted to see a sense of regionalism. So Michael was interested in what that meant. So to us, it meant high plains. People think of Colorado as being in the mountains, but and they think about Denver as being in the mountains, but Denver is not in the mountains. Denver has a
near
confluence
the mountains, certainly,
of the high plains, sort of collision with the mountains. And so we spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time with Michael talking about what was the regionalism about, what were high plains about, what was our environment about. And so the notion of these colors and character of the materials really resonates with people in Denver.
We're here in the round reading room, which is now the media room as I understand it. Obviously, it's a significant departure from how the old library was set up. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the connections between this sort of new expansion of the library and what preceded it, but is still attached and very much still a part of the library.
Right. Well, there's two ways to talk about it. I mean, one thing I want to just mention is this whole notion. I start with this notion of connectivity. The whole idea was to feel like you're socially connected with what's going on in the library. And this is a perfect example because the rotunda is the kind of core volume that moves up through the building. And each time a floor occurs, there's a mezzanine. So of course we're staying on the mezzanine looking down at the first floor, and then it has a connectivity visually back into the Great Hall. One of the things that was most challenging was the mandate was that these two buildings had to work together in a contiguous way.
Right.
But that old building had these really low floor-to-floors, and new libraries, even, 23 years ago, had a lot higher floor-to-floors. So there's this constant struggle with how are we going to resolve that? How are we going to reconcile this issue? So we create what's called a zipper that's on the other side of the Schlesman Hall. And basically what it does is as the new building climbs up, every floor, the offset's greater and greater and greater. And so, but at the same time, is open and has a sense of continuity and connectivity. So it's sort of a fun feature of the building. Of course, it's all ramped, so it's accessible. And so we had all that going on. And so on some of those platforms, we actually made little reading areas. So it became little niches to take advantage of, which started off as kind of a dilemma and became an asset.
Here we are in the Gates Western History Reading Room. We're struck immediately by this amazing wooden structure behind us. What would you call it?
Well, you know, let me talk about how it came about.
Sure,
I mean, the whole notion was this theme I mentioned a little bit earlier about Denver having a distinctive identity and about being the West. And what did the West mean to a lot of people? And so the derrick really became an iconic notion that Michael came up with. Well, it just felt like the West to him. The derrick has a history to it beyond its sort of iconic nature. The derrick actually was a burned down barn in Oregon. And we wanted to basically repurpose this wood. This was back when sustainability was not so ubiquitous.
The table lamps are sort of echoing the silhouette of the derrick in their profile. This is all Graves design as well?
Yeah, one thing I learned about Michael that I've taken in my practice is that anything you can see should be part of the architecture.
Sure.
And that was kind of our attitude towards this whole design. Anything you can see in this building was designed. I don't mean just selected, I mean designed. And early on, when Denver was trying to figure out how to find its future, it was really looking to Civic Center because it had such a classical sort of elegance to it, and the architecture had sort of just a strong civic importance to it, that it became sort of what everything spun off of. You can stand in the middle of Civic Center and you can experience state government, local government, commerce, and culture. And I think that created a sense of context that we really understood how to work off of. And to make more of that, I mean, the foreground of the Grays building is really the original library, the Burnham Hoyt Library, which is an important piece of modern architecture. So you have another layer yet. You're standing in Civic Center, you look towards the library, you see the old library, understandable in context, and behind it you see the new library. And so you get this layer of information and layer of history that gives you this sort of continuum about what Denver's about.